Hey everybody, welcome to the Clanker Chronicles. My name is Sean, aka Smarshall. Last time we had a look at a few US robotics manufacturers, and this time we're heading further east to China to see what's happening there. Undoubtedly, China is going all in on robotics, probably so much so that they're doing more than anybody else combined, really. They're also not shy about exhibiting their robots, which is great for us because we've got some cool videos to show you. So here are my top 3 China manufacturers at the moment. Probably the biggest and most public robot manufacturer at the moment. Unitree have had a huge amount of videos and demonstrations of their robots. Let's start from the beginning though. Their first robot was Lycago, a quadruped that came out in 2017, nearly 9 years ago now. You can see it is a fairly simple and open platform, but perfectly capable of navigating basic terrain. Even able to handle a decent nudge and self-correct. Then by 2022 they introduced the B1, which had this really cool video. Obviously now very water resistant, it was fast and stable, and able to carry pretty heavy loads. It is impressive it could carry this guy as well, though I'm not sure how long the joints and motors would hold out, but 100 kilograms is an impressive payload to manage. Robot horse, anyone? The first humanoid was the H1, which was introduced in August 2023. You can see it starting to look the part, slightly open with soft cloth skin. Limbs are a bit thin, it's a pretty lightweight robot, but it stands tall at 1.8 meters or 5'11". It's even able to handle uneven terrain. Even the obligatory stability check. Not the hardest push, but it stayed upright pretty well. It's also able to carry a decent load, though this was just strapped to the robot's chest. You can see how thin the legs and arms are, so would probably struggle to pick up anything really heavy. Overall, a great first product though. Then the G1 was introduced on the 13th of May 2024. This is looking a lot more polished and the one you would have seen in a lot of the promo videos. It also has its own unique way of standing up from a flat position. This one doesn't bend my head as much as the Boston Dynamics Electric, but it does make my back ache just watching. The G1 has an impressive motion and is very fluid. Here it is doing some Tai Chi and looking very convincing. You may have seen this video of it in action at the Spring Festival. There were several of them in action together. The acrobatics they are showing off here is top class compared to what we've seen from other manufacturers, almost making some of them look sedentary in the process. Now this spring jump is pretty cool. They must have gone through a few robot units getting this one right, but the results are impressive. Here you can also see its gymnastic capabilities, really very impressive. Unitree have shipped around 5,500 robots by early 2026, with around 20,000 expected to have been delivered by the end of the year. A relative newcomer, Agibot was only founded in February 2023 as a spin-off from Huawei. The Agibot G1 was one of their first. It is a wheeled humanoid with learning capabilities. The X1 is marketed as a full-stack open-source robot. Quite a cute-looking guy and pretty versatile. It saw limited production, not a huge amount of videos for him as the next iteration was already here. The X2 was announced in March 2025 and is a much more tightly integrated humanoid style. I would almost definitely describe him as a little human. He is also pretty agile. You can see him running around at pace. Reportedly, it can do 4 miles an hour, so it should keep up with most people. And if you wanted to see a robot do a Webster flip, well, here you go. The first time it has been done by a robot, and quite a demonstration of dexterity. Prices are decent, around $25,000 starting, and available from their website. The G2 came out in October 2025. This is mainly intended for industrial and commercial applications. Here you can see it trying not to drop the wine. Both the G1 and G2 have reinforcement learning, meaning it can be trained to do a task just by showing it the task a number of times. That can also be done remotely by an operator, so you don't have to be physically doing it yourself. Agibot has shipped just over 10,000 units across their range to date, which is pretty impressive given the company is only a little over 3 years old. Remember this little guy? He was a pint-sized little robot that had various actions it could perform. Advanced for a toy, but pretty simple for what is often in our minds for a robot. Well, he's all grown up now. In late 2018, Walker was introduced that was much larger and was much more of a serious attempt at a fully functioning robot. You can see here he has some intelligence to be able to figure out the environment around him. Bear in mind, this was more than 6 years ago. There were not that many robots that could do this. Even these simple tasks were incredibly complex, and they still are. Then in July 2021, the Walker X was introduced. That certainly looked a good visual update. It had much better servos and motors, so it could walk at a reasonable pace. He was still quite short at 1.3 meters and mainly geared towards light industrial and commercial markets. At 50 grand each, though, is probably the only market that could afford it. The Walker S was introduced in February 2024. It was Ubitech's first full-size robot and had a pretty decent sensor package that could do inspections and basic industrial tasks. The S had a little bump to S1 and then S2. Here you can see the S2 play tennis. Shots were not the hardest, but even just to see it making returns like this must have taken some doing. If you wanted to get an idea of how serious they are with production, check this out. That is a lot of bot. Finally, we get to the C1, and as you can see, it is a very elegant design, much more sure-footed and graceful than its predecessors. No pricing as yet, but this is one we will have to keep an eye on. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I hope that I've been able to show you that China has some serious robots on offer. They're throwing everything at it, including the kitchen sink, and have shipped more numbers than pretty much anybody else. So that's it from me in this episode of Clanker Chronicles. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe to keep up with the world of robotics. Take care, and I will see you later. Cheers. And this time we're heading further east to China to go see things there. Undoubtedly, China is going all in on robots, probably making more, probably more going on